Wow. I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this. I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. Just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes through our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, you know, when you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is, okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad. Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru, all double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. D.C., 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. That where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication. There was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. it's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America, really. It's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the DOJ staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead, with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. There are ATVs, motorbikes. They travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against law. See, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, you know, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face, and then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit, and they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any search. So and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central: no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime. Totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute and get rid of some of the other things. And we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote. We don't have a big majority, but we've gotten everything, including the great, big, beautiful bill. Got that done, and that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to people in this country. They're starting to figure it out, how good it is. Biggest tax cut in history. So many things. But we'll be able to get that done. So, Todd, if you and Pam can draw up things working with the people, we will. I'll get it passed. We'll get it passed with the Republicans. Probably won't get, think of this, probably won't get one Democrat vote because they have no idea what they're doing. That's why they want men playing in women's sports. That's why they want transgender for everybody transgender. And they just got walloped in an election, in a landslide, and they haven't changed one thing. I saw the other day the certain gentleman who was a very well-known politician, Democrat, was fighting like hell that men should be allowed to play in women's sport. They just don't get it. They said it's an 80-20 issue, and I think it's a 97-3 issue. And I don't know who the three are. I've never heard anybody come. Nobody's ever come up to me, sir, you have to let men play in women's sports. You have to do it, sir. Nobody's ever approached me. I don't know where this issue even comes from. Never seen anything like it. But they turned our nation's capital into a sanctuary jurisdiction. That's the other thing. We have to get rid of sanctuary cities as quickly as possible. We're going to do it, too. We have to. Because it's sanctuary for criminals. Releasing illegal alien gang members onto the streets in 2022, nearly 70% of criminals arrested in Washington went unprosecuted. That's not going to happen with the group we have standing aside and standing behind me. And at the Metropolitan Police Department, it's now reached a small number relatively compared to what it was, but it's thousands of people. You know, we have thousands of police. I was told today, sir, they want more police. I heard a number, 3,500 police. That's a lot of police. 3,500. I thought they were going to say, we only have 30 policemen or women. They said, we have 3,500. We need more. You don't need more. That's so many. I never heard. That's like an army. How could you need more than 3,000? It just happened 2 minutes ago. Sir, they've requested more police. Oh, what do they have? About 3,500. I said, 3,500? This is not a big area. It's ridiculous. What you need is rules and regulations, and you need the right people to implement them. And we have the right people here, that I can tell you. Look at the border. Biden said there's nothing you can do. Kamala was the border czar. She never called one of the Border Patrol agents who are great. ICE is great. Never spoke to anybody. Never went there. But she was the border czar. And everybody said it was impossible to fix. I fixed it in 3 months. No, really. I fixed it the first week, but really fixed it over the last couple of months. And I mean, literally to a point where, as I said, 0 illegals entering our country in the last 90 days. Pretty amazing. It's time for dramatic action. We're going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be a very safe city very soon. We're not looking to just take years, because a lot of people die in years. And we've got incredible people in this country, except we have to allow them to do their job. And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible. But I'm very competent. Last week, my administration surged 500 federal agents into the district, including from the FBI, ATF, DEA, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police, and they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police, U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. They got some police, but they're rough police, and they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not going to have crime either. They made dozens of arrests, and that's what starts to happen. Again, cashless bail. Watch what we do with that. Today, we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it, by the way, because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially, capital in the world. We always had. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top. No, we don't have to rip the road out and spend 7 years building a new road because they cut everything. Because some designers said, well, we need 1/4 of an inch more turn for safety reasons. No, we're going to do it right. We're going to get it done quickly. So today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia. And Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him. Most highly recommended person. And you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department. Okay? And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good people. You have people that shouldn't be there. You also have people that shouldn't be there. They got in there because of woke. But you have a lot of great police. And those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the street. You're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed. By the way, we're going to have National Guard, but Pete Hegseth will tell you about it. We will bring in the military if needed. People say, "Oh, that's so terrible. He's going to bring in." It's been used many times over the years. I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people, including the people that are in the police department with proper leadership. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out. They won't be here long. But some of these people, a lot of them, are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people. And this is just a list of some of the people that were given to me today that were criminals removed from the D.C. streets this weekend. They were rough and tough. But we're rougher and tougher. Look at these people here. Nothing, you know. They're not going to be your local school teacher. Look at this guy. He has killed people numerous times. They're not going to be an asset. They will never be an asset to society. I don't care. I know we all want to say, oh, they're going to be rehabbed. It's not going to be rehabbed. I'm going to ask Doug Burgum to come up and say a couple of words because he's in charge, as you know. He's Interior, but he's in charge of the U.S. Park Police. And I've heard so many great things about the Park Police. They're proud of it. They've been there for a long time. Their families oftentimes grow into the roles. They love the country. They love this area. So, Doug, could you say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the U.S. Park Police, this is the oldest federal police force in the nation. They were formed in 1791 by none other than President George Washington. They've got the awesome responsibility of protecting our nation's most sacred monuments. The National Mall, Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Statue of Liberty, and out west, the Presidio and the Golden Gate area. These folks have tens of millions of visitors a year, the kind of people that President Trump's talking about that come from around the country and around the world to see our sacred and learn about our history and our sacred monuments. They've been doing a fantastic job, but they are so pleased, the rank and file, that President Trump is now allowing them to enforce the law. As those of you that live in the city may know, that the circles and the triangle parks that are spread throughout D.C. are actually federal park property. So the U.S. Park Police also have responsibility for that. These became littered with homeless camps under the Biden administration. All of you saw that. Since President Trump's executive order on March 27th, making D.C. safe and beautiful again, the U.S. Park Police have removed over 70 homeless camps. And President Trump also talked about beautification. They're stopping and enforcing the laws against graffiti on our monuments. They've removed over 80 specific attacks against our history with graffiti on our monuments. So they continue to do a great job, whether it's in their vehicles, on foot, or on the mounted police that you see around the National Mall. And President Trump, they thank you. The rank and file is so happy to be enforcing the law again. Thank you for your leadership, and they're excited about the announcement you're making today.
Thank you, very good. Great job you're doing. Thank you very much. Pete, could you say something about the military, if you would?
Well, Mr. President, it's an honor to be here. And at your direction this morning, we've mobilized the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong, they will be tough, and they will stand with their law enforcement partners. This is nothing new for DOD. As the President noted, at the border, we've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect our own, and we're working with ICE and CBP. In Los Angeles, we did the same thing, working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all D.C. police and federal law enforcement to ensure this city is safe, this city is beautiful, and as I always say about President Trump to the troops, he has their back. And my message to the National Guard and federal law enforcement in Washington is, we have your back as well. Be tough, be strong, we're right behind you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm going to ask Pam, because she's now, as you heard me say, she's really in charge of a lot of what we're talking about. She's done an incredible job. People are going to start to see the fruits of her labor. And Pam, maybe you could say a few words about what we're talking about here.
Sure, President. Let me be crystal clear. Crime in D.C. is ending, and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. D.C. should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe. Behind me and to my side, we have some of the best career law enforcement and prosecutors in the country who are ready to take this on. As the President said, Terry Cole is going to be supervising the Metro Police Department. Gaddy Serralta, our U.S. Marshal, is going to be supervising command and control, the entire operation. Our Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and I will be working with them closely, along with our great FBI Director, Kash Patel. Kash is going to talk to you in a minute about what we did in Virginia recently with Governor Youngkin. Many of you covered that, and it was tremendously successful. Not only that, our secret weapon here in D.C. is U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge, and she is going to be talking about juvenile crime, how it's out of control here, and what she's going to do to fight back. No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys. We're going to do everything we can. And working with the ATF Director Driscoll and Commander of the Army, we're going to all work together. That's what we all do in this room. We work together. We fight. Do not underestimate one person in this room. We're going to make D.C. beautiful. We're going to make D.C. safe again. One other thing, just at the wharf a few days ago, the area of the wharf, Terry Cole reached out to me, not even nightfall, on the weekend, where so many families and tourists go. A guy's overdosing from fentanyl on a park bench. In the middle of families around, they administer Narcan and saved his life. No more of that. The President of the United States is going to clean up D.C., and we're going to be there to help him, and we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Cash, talk about Northern Virginia, if you would. Northern Virginia, we had a big success.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your leadership, Deputy Attorney General, and the rest of our interagency partners. Mr. President, the following is what happens when you let good cops be cops, and I just want to highlight that before I get into Northern Virginia. This year alone, under President Trump's administration, we've had over 4,000 child victims identified and found. That's a 33% increase from the same time period last year. 33% increase. We've had a seizure of 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl up to this date. That is a 25% increase since the same time period last year. And just to put it in perspective, 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General with Pam Bondi, your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops, let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions, and that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you, Cash. So the process begins right now. It actually started over the weekend, and we confronted a lot of very bad people. But it's going to be something that will be pretty amazing to you as you watch it. And I think most of you say it's a beautiful thing to do it right. We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, we got a lot of problems. But we've already started that. We're moving the encampments away, trying to take care of people. Some of those people, we don't know how they even got there. Some of those people are from different countries, different parts of the world. Nobody knows who they are. They have no idea, but they're there. We're getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city. There are many places that they can go, and we're going to help them as much as you can help. But they'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland for the world to see. The Metropolitan Police Department and the federal authorities will be supported in the effort, a really big effort, the 800 D.C. National Guardsmen that we'll put on, and much more if necessary, much more. You remember I said, I offered 10,000 once. Remember I said to a certain person, person who I thought always was highly overrated, not very competent, but I said, if you need them, we'll give you 10,000 of the military or the National Guard. They turned me down. But if necessary, we're going to move service members directly to joining the Guardsmen, and that'll take place very rapidly, and that'll be done in conjunction with Pam and with Pete and everybody else. Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, and most beautiful cities anywhere in the world, and we're going to make it that. We're going to make it safe. We're going to make it smart. We're going to make it beautiful, so beautiful. Some of the buildings, we're going to add to it. You see what we've done at the White House. White House is a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that, and I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is becoming very beautiful. We're going to be adding a magnificent ballroom, most beautiful ballroom, I think, anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in this room. I have never seen the room like this, which tells me that you want to talk about, I mean, this was a D.C. news conference. It tells me that you want to talk about crime in D.C. and beautification of D.C., but I'm going to put that, that's easy. And I think, frankly, fixing the crime with the pros, fixing the crime is easy, too.
In Washington, D.C., President Trump says he is putting Metropolitan Police under federal control in order to limit crime.
The president is also deploying 800 members of the National Guard in D.C. to, quote, reestablish law and order across the city, even amid a declining violent crime rate.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
The president's comments have been met with opposition in D.C. and in Maryland. Nearly 50 Marylanders, including Governor Wes Moore and Mayor Brandon Scott of Baltimore, issued a joint statement saying the president's comments are based on pure lies about the community. The statement goes on to say if the president was actually interested in reducing violence, he would look to local leaders rather than federalizing troops to take over cities.
The president's critics also point to declining violent crime rates in both D.C. and Baltimore. Tonight, we have team coverage digging into the war of words as well as community safety concerns in Baltimore, despite that drop in violence.
We begin with Fox 45's Keith Daniels and the conflicting messages between the White House and Maryland leaders. Keith?
Well, Kai and Maxine, first off, the facts. According to the mayor's office, homicides and non-fatal shootings are down this year compared to this same time last year, with homicides down just over 24%, non-fatal shootings down just over 19%. Still tonight, the president's concern and the pushback. This is not the first time President Donald Trump has called out Baltimore in a negative way. At one time, highlighting low math scores at city public schools. And now, once again, Baltimore, part of the president's message on crime.
We're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
The president Monday in Washington, D.C., alerting the country that he's placing the nation's capital and its police department under federal control and deploying the National Guard. Mr. Trump even mentioning Baltimore as he unveiled his latest stance against violent crime.
You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone.
A president's punch to the city. Mayor Brandon Scott immediately pushed back with a statement that reads in part, when it comes to public safety in Baltimore, he should look at the facts. He goes on to say, Baltimore's the safest it's been in over 50 years. Homicides are down 28% this year alone, reaching the lowest level of any year on record. And Governor Wes Moore with his tweet saying President Trump's decision to mobilize the National Guard, quote, lacks seriousness and is deeply dangerous. State Senator Justin Reedy,
and D.C. has got a major problem.
Does not represent Baltimore City, but he's a Maryland lawmaker, the Republican from Carroll and Frederick counties, who's weighing in now on the governor's comments.
I can't understand how having more law enforcement resources on the ground in a place that is suffering from a lot of serious crime and a lot of petty crime could be dangerous. That to me is somewhat dangerous rhetoric to say that somehow having our National Guard and law enforcement in a surge would be dangerous.
Political punches from both sides that in the end,
this is a distraction.
According to political analyst John Deedy, may all be part of politics at play.
These attacks are designed to be outrageous so people won't talk about the thing Trump doesn't want to talk about.
Well, one of the issues the president wants to avoid, according to the mayor, is the nation's economy, which the mayor calls a roller coaster because of the president's policies. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
While announcing the takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C. and the deployment of the National Guard, President Trump is also taking aim at cities with Democratic leadership. That includes Baltimore, saying it's too far gone when it comes to crime.
And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone.
Baltimore City and Washington, D.C. have seen historic decreases in the last few years when it comes to overall crime, something Mayor Scott is taking credit for, but critics argue the credit should be given elsewhere.
We have team coverage today, beginning with Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor. Rebecca joins us live right now with a deeper dive into the debate and what some observers say is truly driving down crime in the city. Rebecca?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, the mayor is disputing the president's portrayal of Baltimore, arguing that it's Trump who could take a page out of the city's progress. Critics, however, argue that progress isn't the mayor's to claim.
What he's doing is dog whistling through these right-wing propaganda and, quite frankly, racist viewpoints.
Taking to national news to fire back at criticism from the nation's leader.
We have other cities also that are bad. Very bad.
At a press conference announcing a federal takeover to curb crime in D.C., President Trump roping several Democratic-led cities into the mix.
Baltimore and Oakland, we don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone.
I think it's very notable that each and every one of the cities called out by the president has a black mayor. And most of those cities are seeing historic lows in violent crime.
In response, Mayor Brandon Scott arguing Baltimore is far safer than decades ago, noting a 28% drop in homicides this year alone. Progress Scott attributes in part to his own holistic crime intervention strategies.
That's 50 years, a 50-year low. The president could learn a lot from us instead of throwing things at us.
But while the reductions are real, some believe Scott is overstating his role.
And the reason we know that is if you look at the first 2 years of Mayor Scott's administration, you really didn't see these reductions. But you didn't start to see those reductions until Mr. Bates took office.
Former Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson noting crime rates remained high while Scott worked alongside former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, whose progressive non-prosecution policies were replaced in 2023 by Ivan Bates's tough-on-crime approach.
Well, if you're breaking the law, you're going to walk around with illegal handguns on the streets. Bring your toothbrush with you, because we're going to send you to jail.
Bring your toothbrush. When you say that to people in Baltimore, they know what you mean.
Political analyst John Deedy also crediting Bates for the city's recent reduction in violent crime, though he's not surprised to see Scott front and center on the issue.
Whenever there is good news, a politician will take credit for it, even if they are only in the issue on the fringes.
Regardless of who's responsible, the city's crime fight is moving forward, with many insisting it's the national narrative that needs to catch up. An important milestone to note in the city's crime fight. In 2023, Bates's first year in office, Baltimore recorded less than 300 homicides for the first time since 2015.
Reporting live outside of City Hall, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Hundreds of U.S. National Guard troops and federal agents are now patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. after President Trump issued an emergency federal takeover of D.C.'s police department.
The president has hinted he could do the same in Baltimore. Meanwhile, Governor Wes Moore is slamming President Trump's policies, saying he won't authorize that to happen in Maryland. Fox 45's Jessica Babb shows us how the political battle is playing out. Jessica.
Well, the governor has taken a strong stance. I talked with a political expert who says Moore's political aspirations could be playing a role.
It's deeply disturbing and it's deeply troubling.
Making his rounds to national outlets.
I want to be very crystal clear to anyone who is listening. I will not authorize the usage of the Maryland National Guard for any mission that I do not deem to be mission critical or mission aligned.
Governor Wes Moore is coming out strong against President Donald Trump and the possibility of National Guard troops being deployed to states like Maryland to combat crime.
The president does not know the progress that we have made in Baltimore City like I do. He just continues to use it as a trope. He continues to use it as a baiting technique, and he continues to use it as a distraction.
And while there's no indication Wednesday that the president plans to send troops into the state as of now, it's a policy that's quickly becoming political.
Just ironic to me that it's Donald Trump and the Republican Party, the party of get big government out of our way, that are now the ones deciding to put millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into doing something that is performative at best.
Firing back, a White House deputy press secretary saying what's truly embarrassing and heartbreaking is how long Democrat leaders have allowed violent crime to surge out of control in cities without taking action.
Anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed, and that's why he's taken this historic action.
But at the same time, all the public safety skirmish plays out.
I don't think at this time that National Guard will come to Baltimore, mainly because there's not a need for it. Because right now, over the last couple of years, with Ivan Bates in charge, the crime rates have gone down.
Political expert John Deedy acknowledges crime is something people are concerned about.
As far as an overall sentiment of people want a crime issue dealt with. You could cite all the statistics saying that crime has gone down, but it's how people feel.
And while residents continue to call for change,
crime has just really gotten to be rampant. And there seems to be no end to it.
As Governor Wes Moore argues, bringing the Guard isn't the best way to deal with crime. Others in the community are critical of the governor's response. The Baltimore City FOP president saying he wouldn't expect Governor Moore to do anything but refuse help from President Trump, saying blue states seem to be okay with the federal government taking control through consent decrees, referring to the consent decree the Baltimore Police Department has been under for years.
I think he's acting in the best interest of his own political aspirations because he is seen as a rising star in the party. He is seen as someone who's looking at, for 2028, as someone who could possibly be a presidential candidate and possibly even be president of the United States. So I think he's weighing those options as far as things like this, because in a Democratic primary, criticizing Trump and being anti-Trump is going to be more effective.
We did reach out to the governor's office asking about conversations the governor may have had with the Trump administration, but so far we haven't heard back. Deedy says if Trump's latest move is successful in D.C., Trump's could be sent to other places. In the studio, Jessica Babb, Fox 45 News.